Alright, well this video is in response to a couple of comments that not everybody has a welder. And the fact that the piece of stainless I used in the last video is probably pretty pricey if you had to go buy it. So we're going to do something absolutely anybody can go to the hardware store and pick these pieces up. It's just a 1-inch pipe is the main air, and that's what we're making the burner head out of. You'll need a drill bit, a drill, and some Teflon tape I didn't have in that cover photo there. But everything else you'll need is in that picture, right down to the self-tapping screws, because we need a way to hold it all together. So I'm going to go ahead and start assembling this now. The oil line is the main thing that needs the Teflon tape. The air lines aren't as crucial, so we'll start getting it assembled. And the oil line goes right down the middle of the air line, so it's fairly straightforward, and I wrapped that wrong. Do it every time. None of this is really, I just want to make sure I don't have any oil leaks. And it doesn't matter if it leaks inside the burner head, it won't make a difference. I mean, it shouldn't. And I'm gonna grab my pliers and get that tightened up. So anybody should be able to build this one, as long as you have a hardware store in your town. The oil line is going to be 1/4-inch black pipe. Looking back, I wish I would have went 1/8 inch, but I had some of these pieces already on hand, so that's what I'm using. It's kind of how it goes, you know. Use what you have. Try not to buy anything. That's why I always use exhaust pipe and stuff I have laying around. Now we'll have to get this elbow through the other elbow. I drilled a hole straight through here. You got to kind of hollow it out. That way it can fit, you know. And these are called, hold on. These are called merchant couplings, and these are for the 1/4-inch feed line for the oil. I only chose these because they're smaller than a regular coupling. Regular coupling is kind of like one of the caps, you know, it just takes up too much space inside the air. So we're gonna get this Tefloned up. Always got to think about it. Get it wrong again. I'll get it. Eventually. Just going to put it all together loosely by hand, and then we'll crank it all tight during final assembly here. And all these holes were drilled with an 11/64 drill bit. You got four that kind of come out on an angle, and then 4 that go straight out. So 8 holes altogether, plus the one where the oil line is going to go straight through. Not sure if you can see that. And then all these holes, which there's 3 rows of 8, so 24 holes. Again, 11/64 drill bit. We're not going to put any Teflon on the air because it doesn't really matter. Because it'll probably just end up burning off, you know. Then this slips through this hole like that. This goes through here like that. And then this just sticks out the end here. And there's half the burner assembled already. Oil line. The oil feed's coming out right, you know, it sticks out a little bit because I got to screw this little piece I made, which I just used a cut-off wheel to make those notches. And that's just so when it's setting on its own weight, the oil can still get out those slots. And that just screws onto that. Doesn't need to be super tight or anything. Just tight as you can get it by hand, fine. Alright. This is our other air line. And again, the Teflon tape on the oil line is just so we don't have any oil leaking before it gets to the burner. Most importantly, I suppose. And this is just a 1/4 inch 90. Little tricky to do laying down here. And we want to just tighten that until it's, you know, pretty tight. It's actually threading itself right into the bottom there. So we can screw that on a little more. I just want it in line with the other pipe, the air pipe. And you want it pretty tight because I don't want any oil coming out of these. No seal right here other than, you know, pretty good fit. I'm sure it'll leak some air, but it shouldn't make a difference. And then this is a 45-degree 1/4 inch fitting. Again, this is just for the oil line. The reason this oil line's so long is because I wanted to get my oil feed line as far back as possible because I don't want it to catch on fire because it's got some rubber on it. So, you know, that wouldn't be good. Now these oil connections outside of the air tube are probably the most crucial. Just because, again, we don't want leaks. You want your fire where you want it, not happening wherever it wants to. So no leaks is a good way to prevent that. And you can see how it's starting to come together. Pretty simple. You got one more Teflon connection here. Yeah, and I didn't even know until today that you can actually buy a brand new empty paint can. I was going to buy a gallon of paint and dump it out. I didn't want to dump out the wife's paint. She wouldn't be too happy about that. I think that's pretty good. Now I got to grab the clamp. We're using a hose clamp because we can't weld anything, so. I just made up these Z brackets to clamp onto the pipe here, and then drilled a little hole in there so I can just run a self-tapping metal screw through there to hold this to the can because that is pretty heavy, so I want to make sure it doesn't tip over. So I'll get that part done, and then I'll bring you right back here and I'll show you what it looks like once it's in the can. Alright, well, ended up having to make a little stand for it to keep it from tipping. It would stand, but it wasn't very safe. So as you can see, still no welding. That's just clamped on there. Not a single weld, not a tack. Nothing. There is not a single weld on this whole entire thing. There's our oil feed line. Goes down into a brand new paint can. Now this has got some sort of coating inside it. You can see how them Z brackets are hooked on. The 3 self tappers is just to keep that connected to the can so it doesn't get off center or, I don't know, move around, I suppose. But anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and get it fired up, or try. We'll see how that goes, and then we'll see what kind of burner we built here. All right, well, here goes nothing. I suppose we're gonna see if this thing's gonna light. I'm actually gonna make sure this fuel line fits. I don't know why I never check anything before I start, you know. But wouldn't be real if I was. Hey, look at there, perfect. Couldn't ask for a better fit. That fits nice and tight. All right, we'll just go ahead and put a little bit of diesel in there. I'm gonna light this one with the torch because I don't want to have any paper in there. Just because this burner head almost sits right on the bottom. That should be plenty. It's gonna smoke like crazy because whatever that coating is, I'm sure it's gonna burn out of there. I'm just going to use the small blower, but I am going to use a router speed control. Somebody suggested that, and I had bought one a long time ago. Just never had a need for it. We'll see if going up and down with the air makes any difference as far as burn quality. And I'm going to have this plugged into a kilowatt meter, because somebody else was asking about how many watts it takes. This blower, the little one, I think only pulls about 19 watts or something anyway, so if we can get it lower than that, that'd be amazing. Alright, get the air hooked up here. The fancy vacuum hose, at least it fits 1-inch pipe, you know? Perfect. Alright, let's see what happens. Just gonna put it on wide open at first. Then we'll put it on variable. It'll take a minute to calm down. You can see it's getting that can red hot already. Hopefully that can holds up. See if we have any oil leaks right now. Let me turn it down and see. Yeah, not yet. We gotta get that can hot. Sounds like the oil went in there with some water. Get it sizzling. I'm hoping it'll switch over to blue flame once it gets hot and starts vaporizing that oil. It's also burning up all that. There's like some sort of, probably something to keep it from leaking. So we'll see if it starts leaking after that burns out too. Never really used a paint can for a burn chamber before, but you can see it's getting little red dots on it. It's burning pretty nice, actually. I'll bring you in and let you see what that flame's up to in there. Well, again, you can't see. I need to figure out a way to make it so you guys can see down in the burners. I need some sort of special lens or something, I guess. But again, this was just anybody can build this one for sure, because I bought everything at the hardware store this morning, right down to the brand new paint can. Paint can was $5. All the fittings together were probably about $80, which is kind of expensive to me. I'd rather, but if it's your only option, I guess it's your only option. But if you have access to a welder, it's definitely easier and cheaper to just make one like we made in the last video. Give it a little steady grip oil here. We'll try with this valve. Shouldn't take much oil for this one to stay going. This is going to be one of the most efficient burners you can build with that blower, because it's not a high output burner, you know what I mean? This isn't going to work in a boiler pumping massive quantities of water. It's just not going to keep up. But now if you had this in a little barrel stove or something in your garage, and you only use it once in a while, it probably works great. There's a bunch of water coming out of this oil. I just dumped 2 gallons of brand new oil in there I got. I had a guy bring me a bunch of jugs yesterday, so just using what we got here. It's burning pretty nice, so I'm actually impressed. So for those of you that don't have a welder and don't have access to a welder, maybe don't have a buddy that has a big piece of expensive stainless pipe laying around, this could be an option for you, you know, but it's never going to be a high output burner. And we could have done it different. I just wanted to do it this way. That way the can isn't compromised and we don't have to worry about anything leaking. So I'm going to let this go for a while and see what happens. I want to see if this can holds up or if it gives out or what happens exactly. But it's got a nice flame in there and it's shooting out nice and even on the inside. I mean, you can see where the holes are drilled. I obviously didn't drill them very straight. I never mark them, I just swing it, you know. I just make sure there's 8 holes in each row, and there's 3 rows of those, and then there's 4 in the burner head down at the very bottom that come out on a 45, or somewhere in that area. Like I said, I don't measure anything. And then there's 4 more in between those that come out straight. So you've got 8 in that cap, which is the burner head at the bottom, and then you've got 24 along the length of this pipe. So 32 holes all together. I just assembled this morning. Like, it wasn't a super hard project. It was definitely challenging though, without being able to weld, because that's like my hot glue, you know. So, but I wanted to do this for people that don't have welding. So, hope you enjoyed it, and I'm just gonna let this burn for a little while and shut the heck up so you can watch it. But I have the doors shut and it's not smoky in here at all. You can see the oil. I mean, it's probably about the size of a mechanical pencil lead. It doesn't take much oil at all to burn these ones. Now we could crank it up with a bigger blower, but I got a real good feeling it would just blow right through the can, because them paint cans aren't very heavy duty. Again, you can control this one with the oil, just like the other one. You can turn it right down, make it even like a drip, and it should calm down so you don't have those flames coming up. give it a minute to respond. It's not a high output burner, so it's gonna take a minute. If there's any excess oil in there, it's gonna take a little while for it to catch up. I've got it turned down now. I don't know, maybe 3 human hairs of a stream. It's very small now. And it's got some nice blue flame down in there. I wish you could see it on camera. I'm actually really impressed with this burner. And it's throwing some pretty good heat, don't get me wrong. If you had this in a little wood stove, I think you'd be set, you know? It's not something I'd run 24/7, but in an emergency, you'd be all set. And surprisingly, it's not burning the Teflon tape off that elbow just yet. Or if it is, I can't tell. I don't know. Maybe some sort of heat shroud could protect that. Or maybe if I had it further down. Like I said, I just bought off-the-shelf parts. I didn't cut, modify anything. It's straight out of Ace Hardware in my area. Yeah, it's real hot. It's impressive. See if I can turn the air down and get it just blue flame maybe. No, that's all the way down. It's not really doing what I want it to. Yeah, the blower pulls 21 watts. And it's super quiet. You can probably hear me a lot better in this video than the last one. That oil's just dripping out. It's not even a stream anymore, and it's still running like that, so that's pretty good, man. I think on a 5-gallon bucket, you could probably run this thing for at least 12, 14 hours. Maybe longer. Whether or not the burner would hold up that long, I don't know. The burn head would, but I'm not so sure about that paint can, but it seems to be doing pretty good, actually. So, well, hope this helps. Again, glad you came to watch. Hope this answered some questions and maybe cleared some things up about what you can and can't do. Pretty much, if you can imagine it, you can build it. I mean, that's how all great things were created, I would imagine. Somebody needed something and what didn't exist, so they made it. That's pretty much how I got into doing these things. I don't have a lot of money, so I have to make my own stuff, and so you got to make compromises sometimes. And I just did this to show that you can do it without welding, and it works fine. So thanks for watching. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you in the next one. Have a great day.